Hello. Once again, I've got a couple things that I've heard a lot this week that I wanted to talk to you about. The first relates to escrow holdbacks. Now, as you know, it is not uncommon that as you get closer to the end of an escrow, sometimes repairs are not complete. And your buyer has conflicting interests. They both want to close because they want to own the property, but they also want to make sure that the repairs are done by the seller before closing. And so you start to wonder about how to handle that. And often what you do is agree to close and hold some money back with escrow. I want to talk to you about how you do that a little bit. The first thing to know is while it's okay to do this properly, oftentimes these things lead to disputes. I spoke to an escrow attorney this week, and he told me with his clients about 80% of the holdbacks actually result in a problem. So you need to be really careful. For example, he told me about one where they agreed to hold money back and have escrow disperse based on invoices, and now the parties are actually fighting about what an invoice is. Sounds ridiculous, but that's the way people get with legal fights. So you need to be really careful. So the first thing to do is try to have a credit as opposed to a holdback. Much safer, the parties are no longer working with each other, there are no further obligations, and everybody can move on. But if you have to do a holdback, do a couple things. Number one, contact your escrow holder. They know how these things work. They've seen good instructions. They can help you draft one that will work well. Number two, if you do draft an instruction, make sure it's simple and objective. Specifically, escrow to disperse money to party A upon the occurrence of event X. Simple, objective, no discretion involved. Number three, always put a drop dead date. In other words, if the money hasn't been dispersed by X, escrow holder shall disperse to party B on that date. No discretion. Do not make escrow review things. Do not make escrow confirm things. Just tell them what to do on particular dates in an objective manner based on objective criteria. Finally, if you have any more questions beyond that, contact me or your manager. We'll help you. So be careful with holdbacks. The second thing I've seen a lot is procuring cause issues. We have been asked to follow a prior agent on a property. Somebody showed the property 4 times before the buyer decided he didn't want to work with them. Or somebody wrote an offer and the buyer thought they wrote a bad offer, so they come to us and they want us to handle it. So in those cases, you need to do 2 things. Number one, make sure that the buyer communicates with the prior agent. We don't want to interfere. We don't want to look like we're forcing it. Make the client communicate the change to the prior broker. And number 2, when they do that, pick up the phone and call. Try to negotiate a referral fee. You don't want to fight about it later. If you go to procuring cause later, you might lose the whole thing. You might work for nothing. It is better to resolve it now, know what you're keeping, know what you're giving up, and have the client relationship for future deals. So deal with it now. Don't fight about it later. It's much more risky. Thanks a lot.